All right, we are moving on to session 3 for lesson 3. Now, for this lesson, it's a little different where we will be given a rectangular prism, but it won't be as easy to calculate like with a cube or your regular rectangular prism. This time we might have to break it apart in 2 parts and then add the volume of both of those to get what we call a total volume. So we'll get into that here in the next couple slides. Just to review, our 2 main formulas we use for finding volume are this first one, volume equals length times width times height, and then its second one, volume equals base times height. Now this second part that we've been kind of ignoring up to this point is recognize volume is additive. That just means you could have the volume of one thing, and then you find the volume of a second thing, and then what you get is something called the total volume. So, and that'll make a little more sense once we get deeper into today's lesson. So just something to keep in mind for that. All right, so if you could open up your textbooks to page 43. In that textbook, we'll have our notes for today and everything I go over. Of course, you can just pause if I'm going too fast, or just rewind and go back and make sure you get everything for the notes. All right, so here is the scenario for this. So Bethany has a raised garden bed. The diagram shows its measurements. All the corners are right angles. Again, right angles, as we know, are with a little square there, and those represent 90 degrees. So all of these we are going to assume are 90-degree right angles. If she fills the bed to the top with soil, how many cubic feet of soil will Bethany need? Well, the first thing I wanted to make sure is, for those of you that aren't gardeners, if you knew what a raised bed garden is. So this is kind of your typical backyard raised bed garden. It's a garden, but people will build these parts with wood that you can just fill in with soil, and you have better control over like what's in your soil as far as nutrients and fertilizers. And it's a very popular technique for gardening at home. It's not like a farmer's field where they uh, toe and till that land and then put in their seeds. This way, for the backyard, you have a little more control. So just helping you kind of picture what they're talking about in that math problem. Okay, so 2 different ways that you can find the answer for this. And what you'll notice is, again, I love how they color code it for iReady Math, but it breaks up the flower bed into 2 parts. So you have, in this case, like this upper part here, like that's their upper part. Then we have this smaller lower part right there. So these are going to use different equations. And again, they use different colors to match everything up. This lower part, is in blue. I'll stick with blue. That's going to be right here. It's got 6 feet by 4 feet by 2 feet. So it has its length, width, and height. So there's that, just so you know where they're getting these numbers from. This upper one uses different numbers. We have 12 feet. We have 6 feet. Oh, well, excuse me. Let me get rid of that. Don't look at that one. Okay. So we have 6 feet, and then we have the 2 feet. Now, the reason I didn't take that 6 feet is because if you notice, it's going to be 6 feet here plus this 6 feet, and that equals 12 feet. Like, so the total length of this is going to be 12. That's why I crossed that one out. But this width here is 6. This height is 2. So we do have that. So we have 12 by 6 by 2. So the next part is going to be a completely different angle on this one. Okay, so now they move this into kind of like a left part. We'll call this left. And the other one is right. So again, volume gives you a lot of flexibility as far as which way do you want to do it. Well, you as a math person can look at it and say which part works better for you. Like however ways you're going to break it up is up to you. Like it could be the upper and the lower, or like here have a left and a right. That's up to you. Let's look at the left first. So we have our measurements here. We have 10 feet. We have our 10 feet here. We have our 6 feet wide, and then our 2 feet high. So we have 10 by 6 by 2. 10 by 6 by 2. This right-hand side is a little trickier. So we have our 6 feet, and then our 6 feet here, and then our 2 feet right there. 6, 6, and 2. So there are the different ways you could break it apart. But you'll notice, again, that sometimes you have to use the measurement of one side to figure out the missing one for the other. So, or sometimes you're given all of them, but the main thing to do is, what I would do is draw lines to kind of split up the parts so it's easier to understand which part is which. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so this first one, look at, and again, they're very specific here. They want you to talk about that first model, that one where we looked at that was the upper and lower. The upper and lower one. Okay, how can you find the volume of each rectangular prism? Pretty simple. Just do what we've been doing. Multiply length times width times height. That's how you're going to find it. Again, don't try to answer too much in some of these questions because they do break the questions down into different parts. 2, how can you find the volume of the entire garden bed? You add up the 2 volumes. That would be the way to do that. So you find the volume of the upper part, and then you find the volume of the lower part, and you add them up. So just add. Next. What's the volume of the entire garden bed? Show your work. I would be delighted. Well, let's go with that. Let's go with the lower one. I'll stick with blue for that one because that one's blue. That was, again, the order doesn't matter of the numbers because multiply and addition doesn't matter. All right, so we know 6 times 4, that's 24. And 24 times 2 is 48. You're welcome to use a calculator to check my work and your own. The upper part, that uses, as you can see right along that top line, that total for that is 12 feet. And its height is 2 feet. And its width is 6 feet. So we know 12 times 2 is 24. And then 24 times 6 is going to be 144. But they want to know the volume of the entire garden bed. So these two answers separately aren't what they want. They're going to want this. They're going to want to add 144 plus the 48. And you want a total volume. 8 plus 4 is 12. 4 plus 4 is 8 plus the 1 is 9. 192. We have 192. We notice that that is in cubic feet. So we'll go with that, 192 cubic feet. Question 4. Now look at the second model. All right. This is the one that we did left and right. Left and right. All right. So for this one, find the volume of the garden, break it apart this way. So what they want us to do is something a little different. They want us to do the operations in the parentheses first. So this is gonna remind us of the order of operations. or PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. But it's parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, left to right, addition, subtraction, left to right. So that's just a little reminder of that. Okay, so let's do the left one first. I'll do that in red. This is 10 by, again, we're looking at the second picture, 10 by 6 by 2. And then the blue part on the right, that is 6 times 6 times 2. So, and that 6 times 6 times 2 is 72. And that 10 by 6 is 60. And 60 times 2 is 120. And they want the total volume, so we do 120 plus 72. Well, look at that. We got the same answer. 192, again, cubic